welcome to part 2 of the This Is My Bourbon podcast, Bourbon and Beyond recap. I am your host, Perry. Thank you all so much for tuning in to part 2 on this, what I'm assuming is a wonderful Friday. Coming to you from the past. But hope you enjoyed part 1 as much as I did. Like I said at the end of part 1, I wanted to break it up for you because if I hadn't, it would have been like a 3-hour-long episode, and that is just way too much. So you got part 1 on Wednesday, and now that it's Friday, you've got part 2. I don't want to waste too much time on it, so we are going to jump right into part 2 of the Bourbon and Beyond recap episode. Enjoy. One of the highlights for me so far this weekend, I say this weekend, I've really only been here 2 days, but it's been getting to meet a lot of the folks who have been on Top Chef. And we got Sarah Bradley now, who was on Top Chef.
Yeah, last season.
Yeah. First off, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on. What was it like coming through and doing this whole culinary experience in Kentucky?
Well, I'm from Kentucky, and I was the.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm from Paducah. I was the only contestant this season from Kentucky that was on the show. So it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a little pressure because you want to represent and showcase well, but it was a lot of fun.
That's good.
Too. Yeah.
Was there any kind of like personal experience being from Kentucky that maybe gave you, I wouldn't say like a leg up necessarily, but did it give you a bit of an advantage in certain areas?
Oh, I think so. Like there was a joke the other people on the show would say, is she a witch or is she a wizard? Because we'd be driving somewhere and I'd say, oh, we're definitely going to Keeneland. We're definitely going to, Lake Cumberland. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like I knew immediately when we left Lake Cumberland and we started out on the interstate, I said, we're going to Nashville. Like, we knew. So, yeah. So it was definitely an advantage.
You knew, for sure. Yeah, that's really cool, though. So I apologize. I haven't watched the season just yet. How did you fare?
I did well. I got second. I was a runner-up.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess, you did have a little bit of a, home state advantage.
And, I came in, a friend of mine, we've been friends for well over a decade. We worked together in New York City. She won. So it was pretty awesome. If you're not going to win, at least you want your friend to win, not your enemy.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talk too about your cooking style as well. How did you kind of develop your own style? Where are some of those roots for you?
Yeah, so I have a pretty interesting background. Jewish mother, father's from the Appalachia region. So, grew up eating all kinds of different foods.
Sure.
Lucky to get to travel some as a child. And so I really enjoy taking these like very traditional regional recipes around Kentucky and adding little twists to them, whether you make them, the Appalachia a little more elevated, or you take Jewish food and make it with Southern twitches and all that good stuff. So
that's really cool. I love hearing the, quite literally that melting pot of styles kind of coming together and being married to something specific, because cooking should be something that you put your own spin on.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like it is a passion that so many people have, and when they have that really strong passion for it, it turns into something amazing. That's
what makes Kentucky pretty cool and pretty special in the culinary world. We're not the Midwest. We're not the South. We're not the Rust Belt. We're not coastal. We're close to everything. We have tons of waterfront property here. Actually, more than Florida in Kentucky.
Do we really?
Yeah, I think all the rivers and the lakes.
I'm learning so much today.
But that's what makes it really cool, is we can pull from everywhere and still, have this unique identity.
And I think that, Kentucky's just kind of bred for that. Yep. Being in the middle of everything. But I do have to ask you, because This is My Bourbon podcast, do you in any way kind of incorporate bourbon into your cooking?
Everywhere.
Good.
It goes savory, it goes sweet, it goes, our bourbon menu's pretty large. Well over 500 bourbons, whiskeys, and ryes on the menu at the restaurant, Freight House in Paducah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have quite a bit of bourbon, and I really like to drink bourbon too. I actually like a really high proof rye. If that's what I'm
big fan.
That's what I want.
Big fan. I'll tell you the rye that I've been enjoying the most recently has been the New Riff rye.
Oh yeah, it's
that
good.
100% rye. I mean, good stuff.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, New Riff really, I think, like with the new branding they came out with, and switching it over from kind of that. Okay, I really think it's really improved.
Yeah.
It's tasting, drinking really well right now.
So let's talk too a little bit about the restaurant. Obviously, you said you're from Paducah, rather.
Yeah.
What was it that made you want to come back home and open your own restaurant there? I mean, it's not necessarily the most ideal location, I would say, in Kentucky for a higher profile restaurant. But
well, I traveled all over the South after I got done with college cooking, and then I was in New York City for like 5 years, and I was in Chicago, and then I moved to Chicago and was there for 3 years or so. And then I would come home to Paducah, and there is just this like energy that's happening there.
Good.
It's like a town that's bursting at the seams. Like it wants to be a big city, but
That's awesome.
we just don't have that many people. So I thought I'm going to come home and open a restaurant, and there wasn't anything else like what we're doing around there, so didn't feel like I'd have a lot of direct competition.
Sure.
And it's done really well.
that's good to hear.
Yep.
Yeah. So the name of it again is
Freight House.
Freight House. Awesome.
Yeah.
So everybody go check out Chef Sarah Bradley's restaurant in Paducah.
Yeah.
Freight House.
Come thirsty,
Yes.
come hungry.
Yes, absolutely. I will do both of those things.
All right.
Thank you so much,
No
Sarah.
problem. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, hi, I'm
All right.
Perry, and this
This-
is my Bourbon Podcast. I'm joined now with Fred Minnick and Paul Blackburn, also Huncho.
Is this your imitation of me?
No. So tell me, Fred,
I have a much sexier voice than I
how
thought.
do you feel today?
Sexy.
How do you feel today,
Did you
Fred?
hit
It sounds
puberty
like
last night? Or
If I'm being candid, in a real moment, this has been one of the greatest weekends of my career.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Last year, it was depressing. We got rained out. We got, I remember going there the next day. We were walking on the site. Danny Wimmer's there in the middle of a flood pit, and he's got a shovel trying to direct water.
It was crazy.
And it was like, and I pick up this, there's this random sign, and I'm thinking that I could use this to help channel water. And I pick it up, and
That is depressing.
and I like start trying to channel water, and Wimmer just comes over. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I was there. That's a true story.
Yeah, and
Anything to salvage the site.
I mean, my heart just was like in the mud, and it's like, Wimmer's he's business about it, So his whole mentality was the minute we were rained out, he was like, Fred, we're gonna come back bigger and stronger and better. And he's like, and anybody who doubts us, we'll leave them in the dust. So like,
Yeah.
when you have that kind of, I feel like you can feel that confidence out there in the festival.
Absolutely.
Because we've been working on this for a year.
Yeah.
And I love everything.
I think that, you all announced before it even happened, before the rain out, that it was going to be a 3-day festival this year. And in a way, it kind of felt like you were setting yourself up for success before the failure had even hit.
Well, everything looks good on a sunshiny day.
It does.
So music festivals are, you're really looking at, you're dependent upon the weather.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
But nobody wants to go to an indoor festival. They call that the state fair.
That's
And there's
it's called Comic-Con.
And there's like random people who haven't put on deodorant in 5 weeks trying to sell you corn on the cob or some kind of broom to use on your pool.
The old broom pool. The pool broom.
There's just nothing sexy about an indoor festival.
Or a pool broom.
Except maybe the bathrooms, toilets. But then again, I don't know what's worse. A really active state fair toilet or a porta potty?
I think an active State Fair toilet.
I think you're right.
They service the porta pots out here pretty frequently.
They do. Yeah, we do.
I've seen it.
I've smelt it.
What did you tell me yesterday when you were over by one?
Well, they were cleaning them out back here like 4:30 yesterday or the day before, and I walked out from the stage, and I thought the Black Plague hit me because it smelled like death. It was overwhelming. I gagged a little.
Yeah. So Paul's got this really great restaurant called Couvillon.
Yeah, we were.
And they've got.
We all went there together last year.
They've got a stand here, and they sold out yesterday.
2 days in a row.
Did you really?
Yeah, and we like quadrupled what we brought back yesterday.
So,
dude, that's awesome.
Cajun brown
You'll sell
bag.
out again.
I hope so.
Imagine that.
That's incredible.
That's the thing is like this festival. I mean, it's bringing economic joy to everybody who participates.
Yeah,
like the hotels around here never get anything like this. I mean, people are always like, again, I go back to the state fair. You know, that's
the FAFA in them. Yeah,
you know, that's a different crowd.
They're not staying at the Crown Plaza.
No, I mean the Crown Plaza has actually been really nice. I really do like those guys.
It's cool over there. Also, just real quick, to talk about Couvillon.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely 100% my favorite restaurant in Louisville.
I love it when you come.
I love being there.
Yeah.
You guys were kind enough to host our first podcast meetup back in April, which was very, very kind of you all. And we had great food, great service.
Thank you.
As always. I had to, because they're now ingrained somewhere deep inside of my body.
What's ingrained deep inside your body?
It's the Cheeto dust.
Pork rinds.
Pork rinds. Thank you. I almost said pork cracklins. I was like, that's not right.
Crackling.
You
You're
call
thinking
them cracklins,
you're
too.
combining crackling. Yeah, it's crackling.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
But
so you'd been all right.
Jackie Zykan's walking over and shaking her
Ladies
head.
and gentlemen,
Jackie.
Jackie Zykan.
I just want to say hi.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
Jackie Zykan is leaving us, ladies and
Okay,
gentlemen.
bye,
She's
Jackie.
going to go eat. She puts her sunglasses on. Her
Her
brim of
lipstick's
her hat.
beautiful today.
Oh, she's flipping us off. I'm just kidding.
She waves. She waves as the cold glass glistens in her hand.
Sweet
She's
tea.
drinking sweet tea with a shot of
Ice.
With a shot of ice.
Shot of ice. Wow.
That felt good.
Bye, Jackie Zykan.
All right. See you later, Jackie. Okay.
She'll be back.
Hey, we have to talk about too what happened yesterday on your panel with the Van Winkles.
Yeah,
There was some big news that dropped.
Yeah, it was pretty explosive.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that wasn't planned.
No, hell no, I didn't plan that. You know, I don't give people. I actually don't give people prep for panels. People will always ask me for questions, and I never do because
We operate very similarly.
that's why I said I've always liked your interview style. Well, but I was a little disappointed last week when you asked me who Raylan Nelson was, and you didn't know that was Willie Nelson's granddaughter.
That was a
And
dark moment for me,
And you were like, "Oh, I didn't know that's going to change everything."
and it did.
And I mean, you should at least Google, I guess, before they get on.
You're right. I'm look.
I mean,
Google.
If he
Making
called,
us all smart.
so he called. Fred called me out on Friday in front of everybody.
I never do that, but yes, I did.
He did it for not doing research.
I totally
I
believe
was
it.
like, oh, great. This
But
is
you-
definitely a black eye on my reputation.
But it's only because I love you,
I know,
and
I
I
love
do
you
actually
too.
like your work.
Well, thank you. I
I
appreciate
wouldn't
that,
keep
but-
coming on.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Van Winkles dropped the news that they hired lawyers.
Yeah, they
To
actually
shut
worked
down
with
the secondary
Facebook to shut down the secondary market. Now, it's something that's always been rumored. You know, people always thought that. And when you listen to their side of it, and we recorded that for Bourbon Pursuit.
Yes, yeah.
So you'll get to hear all that if you want to go listen to it. But when you listen to their side of it, there's a lot of anger there from them. They really, really feel like they've been damaged by the secondary market. And whether you agree with that or not, whether you think it's their prerogative. They own the brand.
Well, sure.
Another thing that came out, I did not know they owned as much as they did. They own 54% of their company.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. Like the secondary market thing is kind of like it's juicy scoop news,
Sure.
but I did not know that the Van Winkle still own the majority. And actually, 54% as a businessman, that's a pretty good majority.
That's controlling interest.
That's controlling interest. So they can do whatever they want with that brand.
exactly.
I had no idea that they even considered themselves that involved with the brand still. But that's pretty incredible.
I think what they have done is they have insulated themselves, and they, Julian, people in our world just throw tomatoes and throw rocks at that family, and they don't understand what that family did to build it to get to where it is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they also don't get the fact that, they're not loaded. They're not rich. They do well, but they're not. Their wealth is, if you take a look at the sales of what they would technically get on the retail side, they're small in comparison to like a Heaven Hill. Or even their sister brands at Buffalo Trace. They're tiny.
That's such an interesting thought to kind of dive into because Pappy is the premium brand.
Definitely.
You would think that they would have a little bit more money behind.
But you know what?
I
think to his point is that people that are paying $1,000, $1,500 a bottle, they're not getting that money. The retail. What's the retail?
Oh, no,
what's retail? Regular retail. If somebody wasn't going to mark it up
on 23. I think it's like $250.
Right, but I think people in their minds think, man, that stuff's going for $1,500 a bottle.
Yeah.
The Van Winkles are getting rich.
Exactly. Yeah, but you're right. they're. Yeah, I think that is a really specific dichotomy that you have to.
Sorry about that. I had to take a festival call.
Oh no, it's okay.
That's how this festival goes.
I know.
I get like
you'll be on stage.
I'll be on stage, and I have to go do this and go do that.
Yeah. No. It's all good. But
we were just saying that people probably assume the Van Winkles have a lot of money because the bottles go for so much in the secondary market when actual retail is much more reasonable.
Yeah, and if you can get a bottle, and everyone blames them, and then there's conspiracy theories around it, and there's all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, I don't really have an opinion. I just ask questions and listen, and I see all sides on it, but I think it comes down to like what do you want? What do you want them to do? And I think hiring lawyers and going to the secondary market is the farthest extreme I could possibly imagine. And if they feel like that's what they got to do to protect themselves, who am I to say that they shouldn't?
Hey, their name's on the bottle, man. You got to protect your personal brand.
I don't blame them for it. I really don't.
I own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to war for them if you had to.
Yeah, it's not. It's tough.
It is.
It's tough. And the thing is they get vilified. They get absolutely vilified. And I also see another side. Like Julian donates a lot of his bottles, his personal bottles, to charity.
Yeah.
And they raise. Just at the Speed Museum the other day. His bottles raised over $30,000. So
that's incredible.
It really is, isn't it?
No, it absolutely is.
And he didn't get a dime of that.
All right, we'll get off the Pappy train there for now. I am happy to hear from you that you feel like this has been a huge success this weekend.
And that panel is part of it. The creating of these panels, the curation of them. It's my vision to not let it be marketing oriented, to not let it be brand driven. Mm-hmm. I want people to step in there and learn something. And if it's a juicy scoop, it's a juicy scoop.
Yeah.
If it's learning something else. I think next year I need to incorporate the artists. So I think next year you'll see like...
Oh, I think that'd be great.
Next year I'll have like a drummer of a band or maybe a singer a really famous musician reached out to me in the last month or two, in the last couple weeks, wanting to do something with me on stage. So I think you'll find that next year we'll still have the geeky stuff.
Yeah,
but I'll be integrating some artists.
I think that's great. I'm excited for where things even continue to grow into next year. But until then, I cannot say enough about how wonderful these past 2 weekends have been.
I'm glad to hear it.
And I applaud you. I applaud Danny Wimmer and everybody that's been involved in making this such a fantastic experience. Absolutely a huge step up from last year.
Awesome.
I mean, this is very, very incredible. So I'd say cheers to you guys. And
cheers to that with a big old heaping glass of water. Listen, stay hydrated. Cheers.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Hey, this is a treat. This is something that I kind of I didn't think that this was even a possibility. It never really crossed my mind that we would be able to do this. But I've got Rob Dietrich, the master distiller for blackened whiskey. Rob, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
This is really, really something special for me, and for a couple of reasons. First off, Dave Pickerel was a hero of mine.
He's still a hero of mine as well.
Absolutely is. And to get to chat with you, basically, you filled those shoes when he passed away.
I wouldn't consider it filling those shoes. I don't think there's anybody who could fill the legend of Dave Pickerel.
That's true.
True. I feel kind of humble. I feel very humbled to be able to to be his predecessor and to take over his project.
Yeah.
I brought my own shoes, and
I
really
like that. I like that a lot.
And with that, to me it's important to continue to uphold and honor the legacy of Dave.
Absolutely.
And also to bring what I bring to the table and make some incredible whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing too, my dad is a huge Metallica fan and was just absolutely chomping at the bit to pick up a bottle of Blackened.
Oh, nice.
When it was announced. And I was like, Dad, well, definitely. You'll get a bottle, we'll drink it on the show, and, all that. And so we've yet to actually do that, but we've got a couple bottles ready to be consumed for the show. So I know that he's going to get a kick out of knowing that you were on the show. For sure. But let's talk about the whiskey.
Yeah.
Blackened is really unique, right? It's not a bourbon, it's a whiskey.
Correct. It's got some bourbon roots, in some respects, but I think just like with anything, when you're being innovative, especially with whiskey, you're gonna push those limits and those boundaries, and that's what this whiskey does. So we are a blend of five different bourbons and rye.
Wow.
So we got bourbon from Tennessee and Kentucky and Indiana. We got rye from Indiana and Canada. Average 8 years, and then we cask finish it in Spanish brandy barrels. And that's something historically I've messed around with in a past life when I was the master distiller for single malt whiskey out in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
That's what I was doing with some cask finishes out there that really hit the market, took the market by storm. So I was really excited to be a part of this project. And of course, we're not just going to end it with cask finishing. We're going to kick it up a notch and take it to 11 and go to doing some applying what we call black noise as our sonic enhancement.
Yeah, that's something else that is really, really interesting about this process. There are people who, and I'll be honest with you, I at times have been one of them, are critics of that process of pumping sound into a barrel.
Oh yeah,
because it and I think that's what happens with innovation, right? There are critics from the get-go, and then as it comes to the market, people start to kind of warm up to it and everything. And I'll be honest with you too, I have warmed up to this quite a bit, and the idea of going, why would they ever consider doing that? That's totally left my brain.
Yeah, it's
I think that's it. You guys did something right, and in doing so, created a very good product.
I think it's always going to be natural to have skepticism over something that's new.
Absolutely.
The way I look at it, it's like you think about that little town where the first horseless carriage comes, clamoring in, and people are running in fear, and they're like, I would never step foot in that thing. I'm going to stick with my mule. Thank you very much. And I think there's always a point where. First, there's awe and wonder and skepticism, and then there's skepticism first, and then I think there's a little bit of awe and wonder, and then there's acceptance. That's when people accept, like, oh yeah, of course, cars. Everybody's got a car in their garage. Everybody's got maybe two. Now it's just the norm. Now we're taking cars to a whole nother level anyway. So I think the same way in the whiskey world, especially since it's so steeped in tradition and in traditional methods, people are reluctant to let go of those traditional methods. And the beauty of this whiskey is that we are deeply rooted in those traditional methods. We're just taking it up another level. We're trying something new and innovative because we can.
Definitely.
This is the modern era. Why not? Why not try something new?
Well, it only makes sense too that it's being done with somebody like Metallica. I mean, how can you not want to incorporate sound, music into the production of a whiskey? I mean, it just seems to make sense in a weird cosmic sort of way that, all of these things, all the stars kind of align for this to happen. And then when they do happen, it works.
Exactly.
It just, if it honestly had gone any other way with Metallica, I would have been surprised.
Well, and that's, I think this was really, again, going back to Dave's vision, he really wanted to do something that really brought the band in to be a part of the whiskey. The collaboration is real. That's the beauty of this, is that this is not just some amazing bourbons and ryes from some amazing distilleries, but this is also that blend, and then the cask finishing. Then there's this amazing collaboration where we're using proprietary equipment that has been developed and created with the Metallica guys, with Dave, with their sound company, and applying this the black noise sonic enhancement. And it does work. That was my first question as a whiskey nerd. Was like, all right. I'm like, okay,
what's it do?
What is this about? I want to know. just like everybody else. I was skeptical too. I was like, I want to know. I want to know. Okay, is this a real deal?
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm not going to be a part of a project unless it's real and it's got heart and it's truly something that's extraordinary and unique, and that's exactly what this whiskey is.
And I think that's the best way to go about it. Honestly, if you're going in half-heartedly,
no, you got to question everything. I mean, that's and I think that's the way that's how Dave even kind of evolved, was that he questioned, like, can we do this?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, we can do this. And
Absolutely.
and the band was, yes, we can do this. And this is where they get to put their fingerprints on the process, because it's their music that we're using to to do that sonic enhancement with black noise, and it's at such a low frequency that it does some incredible movement.
So let's talk too about the collaborative process between you and the band. Because, and this is something that I wanted to touch on, James is sober.
Yes, yeah. That's always...
and so, that means that he's not trying the whiskey before it goes to market. So how did you guys kind of approach that? Was he asking, is it good? Or was it, was he very kind of hands off with some of it?
No, and he's obviously going to be hands off in any of the kind of the tasting aspect. That's
right.
He's trusting the other people in the room. I think just like any professional, he's going to trust his professional
Absolutely.
sound guy to know what he's doing. I think with this, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to trust the professionals, the guys who make this, to know that they're making something real. The amazing thing about the way the band works and the way they run their business is that they work together as a band. They make decisions as a band. It's all voted. They
That's
make
great.
their decisions together. That's how they make music.
Yeah.
That's how they're adding and collaborating together. So it's no different when they're making a decision to make a whiskey that they can find another way to connect with their fans. This is truly another one of those ways that they felt was important, and they saw it. They saw, hey, this is a brave new world. This is something that they get excited about the adventure of this, and yes, some of the members of the band are sober, and some of the other members are absolutely enjoying the whiskey, and I feel like there's an amazing balance between the way we are approaching this project.
Yeah, and I think that's, it. I like that they kind of, take their own approach to it. I think it makes that's the only way that it makes sense. Let's talk about the whiskey, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of danced around talking about it as it exists as a product. But so you said 5 different products blended together, and then finished in brandy barrels.
Correct. Yeah.
This is produced something that I would consider to be one of the most unique whiskeys on the market.
I would agree.
And unique can be interpreted as, it can be interpreted as a negative thing. I don't mean that at all. I mean unique is that it stands out.
Right, and that's
from everything in the pack.
I would agree with you as well. It's something. I cut my teeth in making an American single malt whiskey, which was unusual in the U.S. People were like, "Well, how much corn is in this?" And I was like, "Well, it's 100% barley." Yeah, but how much corn is that? And I was like, "Well, do the math." And so I'm used to kind of coming out of being that scrappy kid coming out of the corner. Like we're forging our own path. And that's why I was so excited to be able to work on. To be able to become the master distiller for this whiskey, and I'm the master blender for it. That's what I'm doing for this project, and I was so excited about the real science, the truth behind it. That to me was extraordinary. The collaboration of music and whiskey. Yeah. And so with those 5 different bourbons,
right.
And ryes, the blend of those together just is unique in itself. Then we're going to go that next level, cask finish. That's just taking it up another notch. Then the sunk enhancement. I'll break that process down as much as I can for you,
please.
Because it's really it's just mind bending. So the sound company that builds the even the proprietary equipment for Metallica. Which is very bass heavy. That's a very bass heavy band.
Right.
They are. We work together with them and the bands and where we store our barrels. We are using this proprietary system to be able to literally. We're pummeling the whiskey with a low frequency. Sound. So this sound, there's some stuff on the internet. If you look up YouTube and sound and water, you can see there's a guy who has a stream of water running in front of a speaker, and he turns the frequency up and down, and you can see the water spiral in front of the speaker, and he can reverse the spiral.
Right.
It's amazing what you can do to control liquid and control the elements and the molecules in the water. That's right there. Is just mind-blowing in itself. When you add a barrel and you add liquid in a barrel, you are that whiskey is moving in and out of the barrel.
Right.
You're picking up all those elements that are when you char the inside of a barrel, you get all those natural sugars, the tannins, the vanillins, that caramelized band of sugar, and when you when you start really just vibrating that whiskey back and forth, it's going past that red line.
Absolutely.
We're going past that. We're going into the forbidden zone, man. We're taking it beyond, and we're gonna, this is like Star Trek.
How does that affect the angel share aspect of the whiskey? I mean, do you find that you're losing a lot more than you would have if you just let it sit in the barrel?
This is still, it's a new process. We're every step of the way we're recording how, the effects that this is happening at how many days, how many weeks, how many months that we're doing this process, and we're also really looking at that we still haven't identified exactly the angel share on that.
Right.
And I think I'm used to I'm from Denver, where I ran barrel houses out there for years, and it was, we were always combating that dry climate. It's not a humid climate. I think where the barrels are stored, that we're getting them from, is a much more humid climate. So that's definitely all these beautiful elements that I'm still wrapping my mind around. Plus, we're adding this whole new innovative experience, with Black Noise.
Yeah.
Right. We're adding this crazy element. So it's still the Wild West, man. We're still we're pioneering right now.
Rob, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking
It's my
about
pleasure.
Black. And this has been a real treat. And let's try to do something more in the future.
Absolutely. If it involves drinking whiskey, I'm in.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should do a single barrel of Blacken. That would be something special.
We've talked about that because we are a blend. We'd have to take that blend and put it into a single barrel.
Right.
So we've talked about a single barrel program, but I think right now we're still really maintaining just getting Blackened at your doorstep. We want to make sure everybody's getting
Absolutely.
it out there.
Yeah.
We are in about 22 states right now. We're
Right.
Whiskey's the long game, so trying to you don't crank it up.
No, you do not.
You let it roll its own path.
For sure. Rob, thank you again so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
An absolute honor. Thank you, man.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
So this is kind of fun. I'm excited to have Joanne Street on the podcast. Joanne is a brand rep from Wild Turkey, and not just a brand rep. You're part of the Wild Turkey family.
Sure am.
Directly, yeah. So first off, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Of course.
It's nice to run into you here at Bourbon and Beyond.
Yeah, I walked past you and I was like, is that Joanne? What's she doing in Kentucky? And then I was like, oh, Eddie's here too.
Strangely enough, I do live here, but not here that often.
I was going to say, I thought that you were kind of a world traveler at this point.
For the most part on the East Coast right now, but I am based in Louisville, so you can catch me there maybe like a weekend or two out of the month.
And this is that weekend, apparently.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
Exactly. You guys got me in Louisville for like 2 weeks. We got Behind the Barrel about to start up this evening.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
That's so exciting. Talk about that, too. How did that kind of come to be?
Yeah, so it started, I believe, about 5, maybe or 6 years ago, and it's essentially a program that we put on at Wild Turkey where we invite bartenders, trade from across the country to really come and immerse themselves into who we are as a brand at Wild Turkey. They camp on site. It's really probably the only time me, Jimmy, Eddie, and Bruce are all together besides Thanksgiving or Christmas for the most part. But they get to come in and really dive into what Wild Turkey is, why we do things the way we are, why Jimmy is so stubborn in the way he makes things,
And Jimmy's stubborn.
We take them through the distillery, the warehouse. We have a really beautiful Thanksgiving dinner outside of a warehouse, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, overlooking the Kentucky River. But it's just a really nice time for them to come in, and they definitely don't get enough thank yous from everybody from time to time. I always like to say everything starts from behind the bar, and it's a really nice way for us to tell them, hey, thanks for what you do. We notice it. We care about it. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
For sure, yeah. I'm really interested, too, in the way that you kind of became a part of the brand.
Sure.
Because it's been a family thing for 65 years now?
Right.
Yeah, as of the other day, which is amazing, by the way. But what led you to want to be a part of that brand, representative of that brand? I mean, was it the passion that you saw from your family, or
Yeah, so for me, I actually grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, so not far from Jack Daniels, but Eddie always likes to joke about how I moved to Kentucky to get to the good stuff, But for me, I actually transferred to the University of Kentucky as a junior.
Right.
Just about to turn 21 years old. Hey, I should probably get a summer job. And there are a few people at the distillery that really pushed me to and encouraged me, hey, this is a great place to work. You should just come and check it out. You are part of the Russell family.
Yeah.
And so I went to work there one summer. Took the year off and then came back the next summer and ended up working throughout the year. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. At first, I was like, I'm 21 years old and I work at a distillery. This is awesome,
pretty
right?
cool,
Like,
yeah.
I bet all my college buddies
The
think
treat
I
of a
have
lifetime.
the best job in the world. And then I'd say it was about a year and a half in, that second summer that I came back, or third summer, I guess, that I came back, and I really realized the respect that people had when they spoke to Jimmy, the way that Eddie and Bruce talked about the brand, the way that they engaged with people. And then you guys have been to the distillery before. When you get there, it's this atmosphere. I mean, you can't really describe it when you're sitting in a warehouse with Eddie Russell that was built in 1894, or you walk into the visitor center and Jimmy Russell's just hanging out, signing bottles, and you don't see that. It's the passion and the love that they have for it. It's a really cool thing to be a part of, and I'm beyond lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, and,
Absolutely.
and like the family aspect is so amazing. Just even beyond the family, so I took my my mom for Mother's Day, and Jimmy was there, and she wasn't expecting that at all. And just having that experience, like that made my mom's year. It was just, and you can just feel the history and being in the warehouses and stuff like that. It's just amazing to me.
Absolutely.
And that's the bourbon culture in general, though. It's like just for sure, so much of the family aspect and the experience.
Right, and you never know who you're going to run into. I love being here in Kentucky because it's not competitive here. I mean, last night we were at Bourbon Festival hanging out with Fred and Freddie, and Jimmy was sitting right there, and then Al from Four Roses came over, and Brett, and I was like, this is a whole lot of trouble about to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the best part of it is the stuff that you get to see, that family aspect. We all kind of take care of each other, and hopefully I never go anywhere and stay at Wild Turkey, but maybe if something happens, I got another family I can join. But I don't see that.
I don't want to even think about that.
I don't
That
see
makes me
myself
sad.
going anywhere. But it's the best thing in the world when you get to go and you see Jimmy and Eddie and Bruce and myself hanging out, and then you look up and there's Fred and Freddie and a few other families that have just been in the industry for a very long time. It really is the best part about the job.
Absolutely, yeah. Joanne, thank you so much for sitting down with us for a few
Thank-
moments. We'll have to catch up another time.
Absolutely. Thank
too,
you guys. It was so nice running into you
great.
all. Appreciate it.
Great,
Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Curtis,
What's up?
I don't even know what to say at this point because we've had some really great guests on this weekend. But
Yeah, and they keep coming too.
they,
That's
they,
just the
they
great part.
really do just keep coming. But let me tell you something. I didn't think that this guy was going to show up.
No?
I had no idea.
Why's that? I feel like we should give him some rebuttal time. Like, why
No.
didn't you think?
No. I'm going to let him stay quiet until I actually introduce him because it's podcast etiquette.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's Bruce Russell.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Bruce, oh my gosh, man! Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to be sitting down with you.
Thanks.
And all of the so we had Joanne on earlier
Nice,
as well, and we were talking a little bit about the legacy that you kind of embody with the Wild Turkey brand right now. First off, as I said, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Second, I have to ask you this, and we
Yeah.
haven't actually done this for this episode, but we usually ask the people who come on what they've been drinking recently. So,
Yeah.
what have you been drinking recently?
Well, I got really lucky. Last night I got to check out a buddy of mine working at a little liquor store called Justin's House of Bourbon in Lexington. Got to hang out at that bar
Yeah.
for a
Familiar-
minute. and,
We know
with them.
exactly
Yeah,
where
yeah.
that's at.
Yeah.
And my buddy Ryan has started to work there a little bit part-time on the weekends and stuff, working behind the bar and helping them sell some stuff. And tried their new Willet barrel yesterday. I think it was a 6-year-old bourbon.
Yes.
So good. Now, hot, like a lot of those Willet
Sure,
single barrels are,
sure.
129-ish proof maybe.
Right.
So good. So good. I think I was in there yesterday. They had like 5 bottles left. Started off with the whole barrel, I think, first thing that morning. It was that good.
Yeah.
And then we tried a little bit of 67 Old Crow. That was insane.
Living
Yeah.
the dream right there.
Tried some of my favorite product of all time because I just saw it back there. I was like, oh, I got to get some of that 6-year-old Heaven Hill bottled and bond.
Heck yes.
Because that's what I grew up drinking. Don't tell,
yeah.
Jimmy or Dad.
I know.
Yeah. Man, that was just like the
Mimmy's
best.
gonna be listening
It was
to
just
this.
the best deal in the world. You get a handle for like 13
Such a
bucks.
value for it. Yeah.
So drank some of that too.
Our
it
buddy
was nice.
Swan actually found a bottle the other day for $13.
Yep.
Even though it skyrocketed to like 40.
I like that though, the good old price.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah. $12.99
it's great.
couldn't beat
Yeah. Let's talk about the Wild Turkey Rye.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Because, I mean, that's your speciality.
Yeah. I
at
am the
this
rye
point.
guy.
Yeah, you are Russell's rye guy. That's right. Yeah. So Cornerstone Rye is the new Master's Keep release. I've been saying this all weekend, and I want to kind of reiterate it. I'm nothing if not honest when people come on the show. I didn't like Cornerstone at first, but it really did start to grow on me.
Nice.
It took like a few sips for me to, acclimate my palate to it and everything, but I will say it is a really interesting rye.
Thank you.
How did that product kind of come to be? I mean, I know that you had a big hand in making that happen, but, why was rye the next step in the Master's Keep collection?
So I guess I was like indirectly involved or indirectly responsible for the product, but it was when I first came on as a brand ambassador for the brand, which would have been 5 or 6 years ago, and they told me like, oh, you can travel around, kind of learn the other side of the industry, move to Austin, Texas. I jumped on that chance, but right before they let me loose down there, I spent some time in the distillery kind of apprenticing under Dad. And the very first thing that he always wanted to do was check out the warehouse, see what new barrels are, hanging out, get my tasting notes and whatnot. And we'd go through bourbons and ryes, and we fell into a handful of, just honey barrel ryes. Insanely good stuff. It was probably about 5 or 6 years old at that time. And we kind of set them aside. We've been babying them. They've been getting older and older and better and better. And then I guess it was a year or two ago, they kind of forecast pretty long term for those Master's Keeps.
Right.
Dad came to me and he was like, what ideas would you have? Let's see what I've got. Let's see what you've got. Let's see kind of where it comes together. And then we came up with a bunch of ideas. I think during that meeting a few years ago, it might have been the first time we ever talked about, aging in a secondary barrel, which ended up being Revival. But then we kept coming back to, what about those 2 barrels? They're now 11-year-old, but I guess at that time they've been 8 or 9. What about those 2 barrels? That's the best tasting stuff we have on site. Because I finally got him into the rye as well. And then he eventually was just like, I want to take all the sister barrels from that lot around the same age, right around 11 years old, put them into a bottle and release them as a Master's Keep. And that stuff's awesome. It's got, I think, a lot of the best parts of those 2 or 3 barrels. They're still sitting around. We're still experimenting on them.
Oh, okay. So what I'm hearing
What's to
is,
come?
there's
come hang out.
There's something in the future.
No doubt.
Was your dad as hard to kind of persuade to do something different as Jimmy?
Oh, absolutely not. I am probably more traditional than my dad is.
Really?
To be honest, my palate aligns a lot more with my grandfather's than it does with my dad's as far as like what bourbon I'm kind of into. Jimmy does not like rye whiskey at all, even the stuff we make. He's just not a rye whiskey fan. He's bourbon through and through. But Dad, I don't think I could come up with a weird enough idea for Dad not to be behind it, as long as it wasn't kind of against the DNA of like what Wild Turkey is. He wouldn't, if I was like, let's do a blueberry bubblegum flavored
He'd be
thing.
like, all right.
Whoa, settle down. But as far as the straight whiskey's concerned, he usually has the more out there ideas compared to me.
Okay. Could you talk about some of those ideas that like where you're like, whoa, that is a little further than what I would go for?
I'm sure we can't get too deep into it.
I can talk about stuff that we've tried in the past, and we have a lot of stuff kind of in the works now.
Yeah, go for it.
But stuff that kind of like didn't come to fruition, and I think Dad had a say in some of this stuff. And then at Wild Turkey, we have a technical team, 2 people specifically, Norm and Shaylin, really help us kind of develop a lot of these flavors. But through their technical team, they had worked on some sage-infused stuff. They had worked on, my favorite one they had worked on was we had taken a barrel that had beer aged inside of it, a used bourbon barrel that had beer, and then we got the barrel back and then reintroduced whiskey into the barrel that had beer in it. I really dug that product. Nobody else did. But that's just the kind of stuff where I think why it's good to have people like us at the distillery that really do want to like make a million new things and try all this kind of new stuff. And then it also pays off to have kind of like people like Jimmy or the company that are their first answer is going to be no. Our first answer is yes to everything, and so you kind of have to meet in the middle. Like, we probably didn't need that beer-flavored whiskey, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, turkey is founded on tradition,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, you know, Jimmy's been there for 65 years.
Well, Dad, we've been open since the 1860s-ish.
Yes.
Right there in Anderson County, what we kind of claim as our founding distillery, and I think Dad's only the 4th master distiller we've ever had.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it makes sense that there is a little bit more of hesitancy to, you know, do something really different outside of a straight bourbon or a straight rye.
Oh, absolutely.
But I love hearing that there is that possibility for things to change. I mean, the fact that there is, I assume you're talking about the Anderson Valley beer, right? So the fact that that exists in the world, I mean, that is taking the love of wild turkey to another degree that, you know, 20 years ago didn't exist. And to know that there is some innovation still left to be talked about with wild turkey, that's
And
exciting.
bourbon in general, too.
Well, sure, yeah. But, you know, I want to see, and, you know, 101 is my daily drink. That is
Nice.
my go-to when I people ask, you know, what are you normally sipping on? It's 101. But to see the Wild Turkey brand go above and beyond what it is now, that to me is fascinating and really, really exciting. And
I think we're in like a cool position where a lot of other distilleries have been doing experimentation and innovation for a while.
Yeah.
And we're just now, really since Master's Keep came about, really trying to push that stuff.
Yeah.
That if you're a Wild Turkey fan, it's the best time in history to be a Wild Turkey fan.
It absolutely
Because
is.
we're now getting into that stuff. So everybody that's a fan now kind of gets to be on the ground floor of the beginnings of our innovation and doing cool year early releases and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just think that there is something so exciting about the new blood in the whiskey industry right now. You know, I've been tossing this idea around for a while of doing having like the current masters in bourbon and then the future masters. And I think that, Bruce, you're kind of part of that as well, that you know, you have something to add to the future, not just of Wild Turkey, but of bourbon and rye in general. And I'm really excited to see where you go in the future. But what is your kind of ideal? What's your ideal, or maybe not ideal, but what's your vision for Wild Turkey moving forward?
Yeah, so I guess to start, I'm really excited, before I get into the Wild Turkey stuff, I'm really excited about my generation of the people like coming up as a whole. And, you know, maybe it's not generation by age, because I also lump a lot of these not only like new burgeoning distillers, but also either just new people in the industry or new distilleries. Like if you just look at either the younger guard of people,
Right.
Me, the Hendersons over at Angels, Freddie over at Jim Beam. You've got Drew doing crazy cool stuff over at Willett,
Yep.
and then Jackie over at Old Forester. You've got some crazy cool, like what started off as kind of mom and pop places that are now getting a lot of pub.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a Willett, or even newer like a Peerless, or even, you know, smaller maybe like a Wilderness Trail. Everybody's doing such cool stuff, and I think that we're going to kind of push each other, because I do love to drink standards, but when I'm drinking to compare, I am drinking kind of the stuff like the Little Book, or stuff like the stuff that Willett's doing, or Wilderness Trail, or any of the limited edition Old Foresters that come out. It's that kind of stuff I'm interested in. It's the people that are kind of pushing things into weirder directions, and I'm trying to figure out maybe what I can do, because I'm very lucky we come from a foundation at Wild Turkey. I don't have to do much to keep things going. Jimmy figured all that out for us, and I feel very lucky. Like he nailed 101. 101 is what it is.
Absolutely.
It's going to be around an 8-year-old blend, 101 proof. That's never going to change.
This is what I've been saying. I've been talking about this for ages now, about why 101 is
I think toe-to-toe with any other, what you would consider kind of the benchmark product at that distillery of the big distilleries. It's tough to beat, man. It's almost twice as old. It's higher proof.
Oh, yeah.
It's a killer product. But like Rare Breed, Kentucky Spirit, these things that have been around now for decades, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
At Wild Turkey, we feel very blessed that we don't have to screw around with that stuff.
Yeah.
But it gives us the opportunity to then, cool, we know 101 and Rare Breed and the Russell stuff's all going to be cool. Now let's try a Master's Keep. Let's try a Cool Funky Rye. Let's try the Long Branch. We never thought that we would do a product that was geared towards maybe not a beginning consumer, but someone that wants something more light, more delicate.
Right.
We are not light and delicate at Wild Turkey for the most part. Absolutely not. We are the opposite of that. We are aggressive, bold, in your face.
Yeah.
You know you're drinking Wild Turkey when you're drinking it.
As you should be.
But Long Branch isn't like that. And just the fact that Campari as a parent company has allowed us to kind of branch out and do these different things gives me a lot of hope in the future that if I want to do a cool, funky, weird barrel-aged rye, they're going to let me.
I'm excited.
Or they're at least going to give us the opportunity to try that stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Bruce, thank you so much for sitting down with us, man. I feel like we have like 2 hours worth of content that we could get out of course. Just talking about what you want to do with Wild Turkey in the future. But we'll
rye, and more rye.
We'll set that. The rye guy. Yeah. We'll set that up in the future. But thank you so much.
Thank you all.
It's
great to talk to you all.
Yeah.
Hope y'all had a good time at the festival this weekend.
Oh man, it's been a great weekend. Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
So apparently, you spoke before I introduced you, but it's fine. No, you're breaking podcast etiquette, but it's fine. Whatever. I'll do that when I'll do that whenever I show up on Kentucky Music Preview.
Exactly.
But this is Haley.
Hello.
From Wilderness Trail. You are now apparently, I guess, like a staple whenever we do festivals.
We keep just running into each other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have to stop meeting like this.
Darling, we must really now. That seems to be the trend, though.
Yeah,
no kidding.
It just happens.
It just happens, and when it does, it's magic, and it's beautiful. But yeah, and then whatever. I might break a few rules when it comes to I run a podcast. I can break rules.
You're fine. You understand how it goes.
Yeah.
No, I will definitely break rules whenever I wind up on.
And this is the first time I've met Haley. So,
Hi.
Oh, you haven't met Haley?
Yeah, well, I met her yesterday, but not
that's
officially.
true. That's true.
We didn't have the whole sit down chat.
We didn't have the chat.
Exactly. So it's interesting because there's not a whole lot to talk about with Wilderness Trail right now because we've already talked about all the new things that have been happening with you guys. The high rye bourbon, all the single barrels that are coming out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I figured maybe we'll talk more about the music from this weekend. Yeah.
I like that.
I know my favorite so far, but what's been your favorite performance
thus far?
Weekend? Yeah.
Well, goodness. I did. It's hard to say. Flaming Lips always puts on a great show,
there
right?
We go. That's my favorite.
We were just talking about that.
That's
been my
always
favorite.
going to be phenomenal. I don't think I've never heard anybody say, oh yeah, I saw a Flaming Lips concert and it was a total dud.
Boring.
Fell asleep. What a snore boy. No, and so I love the, do you have the explicit, can I say what the?
Oh, you can go for it.
Yeah, the Fuck Yeah Louisville balloons.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
that was so great.
That was a good touch.
Phenomenal.
Then they
that
had
was
like eyeballs too.
Yeah, and like what I love about all that is like it's not high tech stuff. He got a balloon made, but it was enough for me to be like, that's right, exactly.
That's
Wayne Coy's got it going on,
Yeah.
So that was really good. It's funny because Jenny Lewis is a human I love, but I don't love her music.
Okay.
I love her, like her early stuff when she was like with like Relo Kelly and people like that.
Okay.
But I love her like Fort Lonesome suits with like the pot leaves going down and all like the cool stuff like that. Take that how you will, it's fine.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
but she's a total bad babe. But I cannot get a hold of like a lot of her new music. But that being said, her performance yesterday was stellar.
Yeah.
Grace Potter.
I love Grace Potter so much.
She is a rock and roll queen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She I think is the hidden gem
Totally.
of the rock and roll industry right now.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, she, if given the opportunity, she will be huge.
And it's amazing because she's been around for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And it's insane because you hear her music and you're hearing like Skinner, like, crazy guitar riffs. Like, you know what I mean? Just these like very like
absolutely
classic rock, just shredding, awesomeness.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Page kind of style stuff too. And you're just like, why are you not insanely famous right now?
Yeah.
But also thanks for not being, because now I can see you and afford to see you.
Oh my gosh.
My $10 ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel the same way about Anderson East.
Oh my, yes. Anderson East.
He has been my favorite recently. Really for about like a year and a half, 2 years at this
Sure.
point.
Yeah.
But like I want him to succeed.
Right.
But I also want to still be able to go see him at the Borough.
I need my pay grade to match.
Yeah, exactly.
match
Or
his-
at Manchester.
Yes, at least,
yeah,
honestly.
I mean, he's so good at what he does, and I again want him to go above and beyond
Yeah.
these smaller venues, but like.
Come home.
Shoot, man.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah, let's do a club gig together or something.
Do a little something on the
Like, I
side. Yeah. Maybe a little more intimate setting. But
that is something that I feel like we don't talk enough about with artists, with musical artists, is that like there's that weird dichotomy of, I want you to do well, but I don't want you to do so well that you outgrow me.
yes. Honestly, yeah.
And I haven't gotten to that point with musicians that I love or that I follow,
Sure.
to where they have outgrown me, but I kind of fear that a little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you think about, anytime you become a mainstream, or not mainstream, but anytime you hit whatever
Oh,
big
yeah.
time your genre
Oh, yeah.
is, like you suddenly become, ticket price wise, do I pay my bills this month or do I go see this band? Who knows? It's not that cold. Who needs heat? It's fine, But yeah, no, there is that fear. Well, and especially if there are artists that you have followed since their infancy as a, you know what I mean? And so that's the hard part, is because, like, if you fell in love with an artist once they were already big, then they're already big, and you're already just kind of like, oh yeah, those are those guys. But there's that whole like, I've been with you since you were playing on this size stage. My favorite one I always reference is I saw St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Oh heck yes!
So I saw them play at Zanzibar years ago. This is probably
Spoken with experience.
years ago. You're too young to know these days. I hate when people say that. I'm like, listen, am I, or did I always have a fake? But I saw Zanzibar. I saw them play at Zanzibar. I would say at least at this point like 7 years ago. And Zanzibar, especially before their remodel they had a very small stage. It was, no exaggeration, no more than 2 feet off the ground. You know what I mean? And it was a very small stage, and it was, but I mean,
it was an awesome show. It was one of those where like you were right up front, like St. Paul sweat like flung off and hit my arm, and I was like, whoa, this is
Never
rad.
watching this
You
again.
know, yeah. I was like, well, whoever this guy is, and he, you know,
Selling this on eBay.
yeah. And I mean, and he was still virtually small.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're playing it, you know, on that size stage compared to where he's playing now, you know. But it's one of those where I'm like, gosh, I could have touched him on the
Right,
first show
yeah.
I ever saw. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah,
and now
for sure.
he's selling out music festivals and on you know big arena size stages
And you
and
feel
things
like a
that.
like a sense of ownership a little bit too. You're like,
There is.
but
Oh,
like
sure.
I helped you get there.
But like those tickets, like I bought those tickets, okay, and you might have missed a few meals without it, and you could have died.
Yeah, you could have
If it
died.
weren't
This
for
is
me.
Oh, okay, we're getting that
We could.
existential.
I'm gonna go far. It's fine. I'm gonna claim that much ownership.
There's
It's not
definitely that
even-
much ownership.
It's
that
not
you
even
have.
your career anymore. It's your life. It's actually your life because of me, and you're welcome.
Congratulations, I saved you.
Yeah.
No, but
And he's
even
going,
then.
sorry, Haley, who?
Who? Excuse me.
Yeah.
So
don't know.
this is going to be an odd one, especially is Tyler Childers. So
How is that odd?
so no, not because of his success.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's huge
He's
now.
huge,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
He's a
I
big-
mean, he's
big
on
name guy.
Fallon. He's he's everywhere.
Oh. So speaking of that,
Yeah.
so I used to do a blues cover band,
Okay.
right?
Look at
and
you.
Our keyboard player,
Uh-huh.
Chase Lewis, is now playing keys for Tyler Childers.
No way.
Yeah. So I got to watch him on Jimmy Fallon. That's
cool.
And I was
That's
like,
so
this is amazing. Yeah.
Oh
anyway,
my-
sorry. So
So what's your
Tyler
ownership
Childers.
there, though? Where you're just like, listen.
My ownership is that I was a small blip on the radar that was.
That's how
his
that's truly how
creative journey.
it is. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway.
So I used to run this event called the Night Market in Lexington. It's still
Oh, yeah,
it's still
it's
happening to this day.
Yeah.
So I was the director of that event for about 3 years, and it was a really cool experience, a good time. But as you know, there's a lot of live music that happens at those
Yes.
events.
Yep.
And for anybody who doesn't know, the Night Market's like a street festival that happens once a month on the first Friday, and it's like all local vendors and food, and it's a good time. And it's still continuing this day. And
Yeah.
so, but early on. You know, I was working with another local artist in town, James Friley, who does Idiot Glee, and helping with our booking and stuff like that. And so he does a lot of videographer work and whatever. Anyway, point is, we were working together on booking, and we booked this band for the November night market, November or December. It was cold. It was cold.
Yes, of course it was.
And it was Tyler Childers
Huh.
and his backup band,
Oh, okay.
and he played at the night market, which is.
And what year is this?
This is 20. Oh gosh, this is like probably like 2014.
Okay.
I would say. And 2013, 2014, something like
Yeah.
that. And
So right before he hit.
right before he hit, and right
Yeah.
before he even even kind of started doing bigger tours or
Right.
anything like that. And
Yeah.
so he agreed to do, you know, he did it's his whole band. I got to meet all of them. He cursed me on stage several times for being so cold, and which I don't blame him.
Oh, good.
No, I was totally like, listen, I don't blame you. I'm so sorry.
I wonder if he remembers that.
I don't know. I don't know if he does or not. I know a couple people like kind of like you, or like I know his drummer and I know his former manager.
Yeah,
and
it's all that 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
kind of deal.
But I don't know
Yeah.
Tyler at all. Like, and I'll never claim to know him until we've sat down or something. But otherwise, I
Oh,
don't
that
know.
would be great for your show.
Oh, I would love that.
Oh my gosh.
Tyler, if you're listening.
All right,
I
we're
don't
going to
know if
start a
you have that.
campaign.
Yeah.
Not sure we have that.
Use the
listener.
hashtag.
I don't know where you're.
We're going to use the hashtag Get Tyler to KY Music Preview.
I like it.
So
I like it. It's quick. It's catchy.
it's snappy. It's hot.
snappy,
You know,
Yeah.
it's gonna
It's got legs.
it's gonna happen.
It's got legs for sure. But I do. I remember that moment and you know, like liking the music, but not really knowing. Obviously, you don't know.
Right.
I would never have guessed years later, you know, here he is on Fallon, or here he is at Railbird with 40,000 people watching his band play. And,
Kentucky's so weird.
yeah.
About the art scene.
Yeah.
Well, Kentucky's weird.
In
yeah.
general, I was like, yes.
But
sure.
it's so weird about its own people.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
I don't know what it is, but it just feels like there is never that support behind the people that matter.
That are like really well, and that's one of the reasons why with Kentucky Music Preview, that's one of the reasons why we started it, is because we were out of sheer frustration almost of just being like, no one's going to these shows, no one knows about these shows, like no one's marketing, all these things. And it was like, here we have these gems of artists that, if they could just get in front of the right ears, would probably be the next Tyler, be the next, Sturgill, be the next whoever, and yeah, it's one of those where it's like, where y'all at? I know you're out there.
Where's that support, y'all?
Where y'all at? Leave your house. Go buy the ticket. Go hang out.
That's the problem. They're still in the holler, just like.
It's like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to drive there.
I enjoy my life.
I think the core of what we're getting at this point is support.
Either
local
way,
artists.
through and through, yeah.
Not even just musicians, but like real,
local
fine
talent.
artists, you should take some kind of ownership in that. I mean,
I think anything that's produced locally needs to have a strong army behind it to support it, you know? Especially like, not to get too like over the top, but like in the days of Amazon where,
Oh no, yeah.
And I mean, I'm totally the same
that.
person. I literally contemplated buying soil off of Amazon so I could pot my plants because I didn't want to go to Lowe's, which is so awful to say. So I am a total product of all of that, guilty as charged.
No, yeah, I feel that too.
But like, that being said, down to podcasts, down to breweries, down to restaurants, distilleries. Danville, Wilderness Trail, we're in Danville, Kentucky. We have a population of less than 30,000 people there. Not much going on. I'm going to throw that out there. No shade. I grew up there. I get it.
Haley, how many bourbon podcasts do you think are out of Lexington?
One? Yes.
One bourbon podcast out of Lexington. That's us.
I didn't even know that.
No, dude, there is nobody else in Lexington that is doing bourbon podcasts.
That's wild.
And I don't, I don't care if somebody else crops up. I encourage that. It's all about the community.
Yeah.
Right?
But like, why are you not famous?
It's Central Kentucky.
No.
It's not that at all. It's just, why are there not more people in Central Kentucky going, we should do something. It just baffles me that we're the only one.
Yeah, I think it has to go back to like just a whole history lesson that we won't get into today. But
that's true.
I think it's a
that
whole
is also
lot
true.
Of
but my
backstory there.
My point is that I think that without that backing,
yes,
people don't feel the encouragement to do
Keep
something
going.
they might have a passion for.
to pursue that. Yeah, exactly.
And man, we're gonna get real deep here
No,
for
I
a
like
second.
it. Let's
but
go.
Like,
I'm like
but
leaning
like,
in. Like, let's do this.
Lexington sucks for a music scene. It is an absolute pit of waste for music, and it's not that the people who are making the music suck.
I was gonna fight you on that.
No.
I was like, listen.
No. It's
No.
There is great music coming out, but
It's
there is
lost
no
on-
support.
It's lost on the people
It
there.
absolutely is,
yes,
because all
yes.
they want to do is they want to go out and they want to listen to cover bands.
Oh yeah.
And there's just nothing to facilitate creativity.
Yes. No. You're 100. It is lost on. That audience. It's totally lost on that audience. It's totally lost on Kentucky audience. I mean,
I think so too.
like in general, like, and it's just, It's a shame because it is awesome music coming out of, and like, not to even pigeonhole music. There's so much good stuff coming out of Kentucky.
Oh, for sure.
And it's lost on its own citizens. Yeah. And that's the shame. It's like, I'll get visitors, with through the bourbon industry, through the trail, and they are in awe of all these things happening here that I'm like, thank God, because let me tell you, Joe Schmo down the street sure doesn't care. Like, and I know that's such a bitter outlook on it, but it's so frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because there are people like you doing what you do and getting out there. Well, it's true. I mean, you guys, this isn't, this isn't out of sheer just love for the attention, love for the money, love for whatever it is, what I mean?
Love bourbon.
You love bourbon and you love what's happening here. And bourbon just so happens to be one of the largest industries that are coming up in the state, but you're doing it because you love it. You're doing it out of love of it. You're doing it out of creating a network, creating a community that loves that, and it's just a shame what happens when it's just lost on people that are, in that backyard and don't appreciate it.
And I don't know if it's something like, oh well, it's always been here, like, kind of mentality, but I don't buy that. Like,
I don't either.
Excuse.
I don't either. No,
don't give them excuses.
No, don't allow excuses.
Yeah, don't even give them room for it.
Is how I feel.
No, I get that though, and it's frustrating. But that being said, like, maybe you're a pioneer. Maybe we're pioneers in starting a new wave of just getting people shaking them by the boots and saying, hey, get up, get out, let's go.
Do this already,
like that mentality of just kind of not being an active person, being just a schmuck in the crowd. You can't do that anymore, like you gotta stand up and you gotta do your thing and you gotta have people to follow you on it. So for those
Totally
of you
agree.
listening, get up out of your chairs.
This was a lot more passionate than I thought it was going to
I'm
be.
flipping
We were just going to
tables
talk
over
about
here.
it.
Everyone, hear me.
Listen
to me.
Haley, thank you so much for
My
sitting down. It's
grandson.
always a pleasure to get to see
Yes,
you.
thank you. Thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
Everybody go see Wilderness Trail.
Yes.
Go check out the distillery, drink their bourbon and their rye for that matter too. So,
Specifically. He doesn't have
good stuff.
favorites. It's fine.
No, well, it's all good. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Fawn Weaver from Uncle Nearest is back.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Fawn.
Hello.
How have you been?
I've been great.
You've
How
been
about
busy. I know.
I've been incredibly busy.
So I'm sorry.
Jackie is telling you to
just
wrap
looked at
up?
me and was like, "Hey, we've been trying to sit down for like the entire weekend, and we'll make it happen." It's all good.
Are you okay?
No. It's all good. No,
Okay.
We'll filter her in when the time comes.
All right.
Yeah, but no, we're gonna talk about Uncle Nearest right now because
Awesome.
that's what's important. Goodness gracious, you guys have had, like I said, 1,000 different things happen.
One hell of a year, yeah.
So goodness gracious. First and foremost, the visitor center.
Yes.
Yeah, that is hugely exciting for you guys.
It's beautiful. It really is. And people come in and they see the level of excellence that we are building out our distillery. And it's very, very rare. Peggy knows Stevens, who has built out a lot of visitor centers and a lot of distilleries. She said she doesn't know of any that has ever done what we did, which is we have a 4-year build out, and we decided to open up after the first year and to allow for our consumers to go along, what we call our whiskey family, to go on this journey with us. And so we opened up phase 1, our bottling house, our visitor center, our tasting room, and we opened all of that up. And I mean, I think 3,000 people showed up, so.
That's a good indication, though. I mean, right?
It's a very good indication.
Yeah. No, I think that is so cool to see. I mean, we were talking last year about the small number of states that you guys were in. That really, really small market.
Right.
It's expanded so much.
We're in all
since
50.
then.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that.
We're in all 50 and in 10 states outside of the U.S.
I mean, September last year you were in.
I don't.
20?
Probably. Maybe. I don't know if we were in that many by then, but
sure.
yes.
Yeah. That is just fantastic to me that you guys have done everything that you have to get to this point, and I'm very, very happy to see the expansion that you all have experienced and everything. But let's talk about the whiskey a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we have two expressions in front of us, the 1856 and the 1884. The 1856 is kind of your more, I would say, what is like your
our core
predominant.
Well, the irony is that 1856 has been our core, and 1884 has come out of the gate swinging. We're now selling about 50-50 in each of the states. So
oh wow,
it is quickly growing popularity.
Wow,
yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah, so we'll taste a little bit and talk about it
as
well too. So I started with the 1856,
all right,
which is
Here you go.
Yes, on our left.
Cheers.
Thanks to Richie. Yes, cheers to you as well. So this is a whiskey. It's not a bourbon.
It is. Well, so Tennessee whiskey is straight bourbon.
Yes.
Legal definition
Right.
and in the process. The
Right.
only difference between Kentucky bourbon and Tennessee whiskey is what Nearest Green taught. It's what he helped to perfect. It's a filtration process. It doesn't add anything. It only removes.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So it's removing fusel oils. It's literally removing the crap you don't want in whiskey. So
right. Yeah. But regardless of whether or not you're removing anything from the whiskey, this is so full-bodied.
Yes.
I think that this has so much to it that is really quite a delicate bouquet of flavors. And I mean, last year I tried it for the first time with you.
Yes.
I tried it for the very, very first time sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
And harped on how much I loved it. And really, I still feel the exact same way. I think that it is a very exceptional whiskey.
Well, the irony is when you tasted it last year, it was a blend of 8 to 11-year-old. Now we've actually adjusted the blend a little bit. It's now a blend between 8 and 14-year-old. And so it's the depth that you're getting is, it was there before, but you are going to get a little bit more depth because of the amount of time that some of these barrels that have been blended in have been sitting in Tennessee.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't quite remember the fruitiness.
Yes. Well, from barrel to barrel, everything is different. Everything changes. And for us, I don't know how many other distilleries are out there like this, but our whiskey goes in at a very low proof. So Nearest Green, at the time that he was alive, the maximum was 110. So he was putting it in the barrel at 110 and he was proofing it down. So we do our best to follow that process of proofing it down. So most of our barrels, when we are actually releasing the whiskey from the barrels, it's anywhere between 100 and 105 proof. So the amount of water we're adding to 1856 is very, very little. So it's pretty close to a cask strength.
That is, I love that. I really, truly do, because I always kind of talk about barrel strength bourbon or barrel strength whiskey as like the ideal product that the master distiller intended.
Yeah.
Right? And so even though it's got a little bit of water added to it, that doesn't seem like it detracts too much from the original intention.
And that's the entire point, because when we did our research and trying to figure out what was the proof, and this is actually a good segue into 1884.
Yes.
When I reached out to Clay Reisner of the New York Times, Fred Minnick, Peggy Noe, Stevens, a few others that I know have been researching whiskey for a long time to try to figure out what was the proof that people in the marketplace that were tasting Nearest's whiskey before 1884, or 1884 is the year that we believe Nearest, the last year he put his own whiskey into a barrel. Jack moved in 1885 to the new distillery that he's at, and Nears did not go with him.
Right.
And so 1884 is the last year we believe that he put his own whiskey into barrels.
Interesting.
But when you're looking at that date and that time, and the fact that they were selling actual barrels, and then it was going to the distributor, and the distributor is who was adding water, the question became, what do you think that the actual consumer was getting? And they believe that it was anywhere between 92 and 94 proof. So that is the reason 1884 is a lighter body, and it's at 93 proof. Now, as you're tasting this, I want to give you a little bit of background on 1884.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Is this particular one, it is small batch. I hand select every barrel, and then it goes before a tasting panel that is chaired by Nears Green's descendants. And it is Nears Green's descendants that actually determined the blend. And so they will say, this barrel is in, this barrel is out, this barrel is in, this barrel is out. And we give them no direction as to how they choose their barrel. It is based on their own taste profile and my belief that whiskey is in their blood. So if you look on the back of the bottle, the descendant who blended this, her signature is on the back. And every bottle of 1884, you can tell what descendant's palate has curated and blended this. Is you're able to tell that because of the signature on the back.
That is so wild to me. I mean, like, I think about, too, you know, maybe they have something, like, deeply ingrained in them that is indicative of what that palate of whiskey was like at the time. But
absolutely,
like, this sounds like they're just going in blind.
Listen, you know, they go in, and again, it is my belief that a legacy like that does not stop at that person, and it comes down, and it continues to come down. Our head of whiskey operations is a descendant of Jack. So it is something that I think continues in these families. And so when she chose this blend, every single competition we have entered has won either gold or double gold.
Sorry, I'm also enjoying this as we're talking about it. Really, I am truly enjoying it. I think that the finish is spectacular.
It's a nice sipper, right? Needs nothing added.
It's nothing really too intrusive up front, which is an odd way of putting it, but it doesn't it doesn't abuse your palate.
Right.
Yeah, but the finish, though, that's where it feels more like a bourbon.
Yes.
To me.
I think
when the
that
caramel
1884
really
feels and tastes more like a bourbon is one of the things that we have heard. And a lot of the bartenders, ironically, this is the first place we began hearing it in L.A., as you had a lot of bartenders going, whoa, this is really similar to Blanton's, and utilizing it in different drinks that they used to.
Same proof, too.
It is. And so this is the one that people are shocked that it is, it's out of Tennessee. But people have to remember, we're sitting on the same limestone shelf as Kentucky. So our whiskey is essentially just the same. So it is just a matter of what we do with it in Tennessee. And for 1884, what we did is the same thing they do in Kentucky with the bourbons.
That is daggone good. I mean, really, I all right. I think I might have to stop by the liquor store on the way out of here and pick up a bottle
1884
of that,
just arrived in Kentucky about a week or two ago. So you got it here.
So there should be plenty.
Yes, I hope so. It depends. 1884 is absolutely flying off the shelves.
Oh, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Fawn Weaver, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
sitting
for
down
having
with me
me.
again. It's been so good to see you again.
Thank you.
I need to make my way down to Tennessee.
Yes,
and actually
you got to come on the tour.
I would love
I
to.
do a founders tour every Saturday at 4 o'clock. I lead it.
Okay.
And then we end it at our Toppy's Bar on the distillery, and we've built out a patio. The most beautiful sunset in Tennessee happens on the southwest corner of our ranch. And so we literally built out a patio where everyone just comes and they grab a drink and sit and watch the sunset, and it turns the entire sky copper. So we call it our Copper Skies moment.
I love that so much. That's perfect. Fawn, thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
the
you for
best,
having
Uncle
me.
Nearest.
Thank
Yes,
you.
For sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, I am so happy to have the very exhausted and
don't
worn to the
start
bone.
with
No,
that.
I am absolutely going to Jackie's I Can.
exhausted, but for good cause,
It's
right?
a good reason. Yeah.
It is. Bourbon Beyond is amazing. It's an amazing festival, and everyone's out here just busting ass to make it all happen and spread the good word of brown juice. So
and look, no more so than Fred Minnick.
Oh, no one ever more so than Fred Minnick.
He has absolutely pulled out all the stops.
He's so committed too. You see that guy is walking around in his suit jacket. It's 100 degrees out. He's got his ascot on. You know he's miserable.
What's up with that?
I know. I give Fred Minnick so much shit for that ascot, but everyone does
so much.
too. It's okay.
He's one of my favorite people. So you are the master taster.
Yes.
At Old Forester.
At Old Forester,
that
yes.
sounds like the hardest job in the world.
Your sarcasm is really just on fire
It
right
cuts
now.
through, right?
Yeah. So, okay, but let's think of it this way. Everyone says that, how do I get your job? You have a dream job.
Yeah. It takes time.
It's a great job. It's a great job, and any job's a great job when you love what you do, but it's still a job, and it's still...
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah, so there's still challenges with it, but, it does come with some really good whiskey, so, hey, no complaints.
I mean, you're not drinking all day. You're tasting.
No,
exactly.
laying around drinking it out of the bottle all day.
That's the thing that I think people don't realize is that it's not just going into work and getting schmammered for 8 hours, 9 hours out of the day.
It's actually quite the opposite. I'm the only person in the room that's not allowed to be drunk, to be perfectly honest with you. No. So you go and you do events, you do tastings, and we do all kinds of things. And everyone's there enjoying our products, hopefully responsibly. We do our best to set that up. But no, you can't. When you serve as sort of a face of a brand, that's just not an option anymore. And your relationship with alcohol definitely changes. I can't drink whiskey anymore and not... sort of have that Pavlov's dog response of like, I'm at work, and the stress level just fires up, right? So, I don't know. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your mind. It took a lot to get here. I spent a lot of time in the bar industry before this and was working about 92 hours a week as a bev director and picking up stuff on the side after that. And then here, you never clock out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't, it just doesn't stop. I'm not complaining. I'm complaining. Am I complaining?
No, you're not. I don't.
I'm just being honest.
You
about
might be a
it.
little bit, but I mean.
But I think
cares?
it's important for people to realize that,
It is.
So it's not what you think. It's not a party. It is a job. If we were all getting schmammered all the time, trust me, the whiskey in the bottle wouldn't be as good as it is.
Thank you for using that word.
Schmammered.
That's something that I've incorporated into my vernacular. So one of the biggest successes, though, of Old Forester over the past year has been the 1910.
Oh my God! Right?
I say that very, very lightly because y'all sold out in 6 weeks.
So
6 weeks,
right? No, okay. So the Whiskey Row series has been an interesting journey.
Yes.
When the 1870, that first one came out, everybody kind of was like, "Why is there an expensive Olfo? I don't get it. I can get the 100 proof cheaper than this one. Why am I paying extra?" There's reasons for it, but just for the sake of this, let's focus. 1897 comes out, and they're like, oh, okay, there's another expensive one.
Right.
Not expensive in the grand scheme of bourbon, but for Old Forester, it was higher priced than the core.
Yeah.
But the two flavor profiles were so polarizing that I think it was you choose one or the other, and that was it. When 1920 dropped, I mean, right.
That was the game changer.
It was the game changer.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's a flight. All of a sudden, there's a series, and people started paying attention because now you start building that back bar billboard, if you will, right? And so when we went to do demand planning for the 1910, we based that first year's release number off of the highest level of 1920 sales numbers, thinking we'll be safe. No way could it be as successful as 1920. That entire year's supply sold out from us. We shipped it all out in 3 weeks, and we were like, "Oh shit, what do we do now?"
There's nothing left.
But it's a finished product, so we can't just go pluck more off a tree. It's got to sit in a secondary barrel for about 9 months.
Well, there's something too about I would say the legacy behind that product too, right? I mean, it was built solely on George Brown's ideal. When the fire.
The 1910.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting though. So. What happened, so backstory here for all of y'all.
Yes.
1910, there was a fire in Whiskey Row, one of many fires that have happened on that little strip. But they had a vat of Old Forester they were about to bottle. Back at that moment, Old Forester was bottled in bond, right?
Yes.
So you've got 100 proof Olfo sitting in this vat ready to go through a bottling line. Fire happens, everyone's got to get out, it just sits there. They didn't know what to do with it once they get back in the building. They threw it back in a barrel and said, we'll figure it out later.
Right.
years and years later, they dump it out, and they didn't sell it as Old Forester. It was never sold as Old Forester.
Right.
Very old fine whiskey, and it went to like friends and family and executives and like fancy people, and that's fine.
The schmucks.
No, not that.
I'm just kidding.
But it wasn't a brand that they were interested in growing. It was just sort of an oopsie and let's gift it out because it was delicious. So yeah, there's a genuine story behind it. We followed the exact same production protocol with it. We took 100 proof Old Forester, put it in a secondary barrel that's been heavily charred, and then emptied it out later. The proof is just because it tastes good at 93, 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah, because, what are your options? You enter that secondary barrel at 100.
Right.
You really can't put it into a bottle anything higher than really 97 after tax and tip is all included in there. So it had to be a little bit lower, but 93 was such a sweet spot, and I'm really glad that I had those arguments at work because it really paid off.
Oh, we have to try that again? Well,
yeah, but you noticed we went out of order, right? We released 1920 first and then 1910. And the reason for that is because that first batch of 1910, they did their R&D development study on what it was going to taste like, and it was inaccurate. And so it sat in the actual barrels longer than it was supposed to, and it came out and it tasted like not good. I don't want to say garbage. It was just, it was like chewing on a coffee table. Like, it was incredibly overly oaked. We still have those barrels laying around today. I have the samples. If you ever come by OFD, I'll be glad to let you taste them.
I would love to try that.
But because it wasn't up to our quality standards, it was like, I guess we're going to wait a while on this one and start from scratch again. And so we just released 1920, and so there you go.
Well, look, 1920 is definitely my favorite out of the Whiskey Rose series.
To me, it seems to have the most full-bodied flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's the most complex as well. I'm quite a fan of the darker tannic notes on bourbon, as well as some of the I like the marriage between those dark notes and the really light kind of effervescent notes, and I feel like 1920 has that.
Okay.
And I really enjoy it. I especially like the proof. 115 proof I think is great. You seem very cautious
No, you're saying some of the same stuff that most people say. Everyone's, I love high proof. Yeah, of course you do. Sure. It is delicious, and it's a great proof point. The proof point is actually historically relevant to Old Forester. That was our barrel strength in 1920.
Yeah.
That's why it's chosen that. So the blend is made to coincide to make that proof point work, as opposed to the backwards way that we do the 93 proof for 1910 or the proofing for birthday bourbon. So it's interesting, but it's actually the most minimally filtered Old Forester on the market so far, and that's all I'm allowed to say. We don't chill filter anything, but that one gets such a really quick light load carbon treatment. We don't chill filter anything, no. Why are you so shocked by that?
No, I didn't know that.
At that high of alcohol concentration, the chill filtration really, we don't have a chill filtration system anyways, but it's pretty shelf stable the higher up you go. And at 115, it's pretty safe.
Wait.
Hold on. No. Wait, do we need to back up and explain chill filtration?
So even down to 86 proof?
86 proof is not chill filtered. It's a carbon treatment.
I had no idea.
Really?
I honestly did not know that.
All of it, yeah. None of it is chill filtered.
That's, first off, good for you guys. I think that's something that more people in the whiskey industry should kind of try to adhere to.
It's just another one of those things that the general consumer is going to start gaining knowledge on. Back in the day, no one even thought about what the difference of a mash bill was going to do. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Then they start learning more and more about the category.
Absolutely.
We've never chill filtered. It's just not what we do.
Okay, well.
It takes longer. It's a pain, but we just don't do it. It's fine.
Well, now I've learned something more that I didn't think I was
going
to. Yeah,
getting learned.
Look, the podcast is not just for me. It's for everybody else, but apparently today it is for me.
It's a little for you today. Yeah, a little bit. That's okay. You can have that. You own that.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to talk to a little bit, and, this is a topic that we could get into in the future as well, with a full hour and a half to sit down. But
this is just a taste.
This is just a little teaser. Yeah. What were the experiences that kind of led you to be able to adopt the moniker of Master Taster? Because it's not something that you just wake up one morning and you're like, hey, I have a great palate that everybody can adhere to.
No, and honestly, I didn't grow up going, one day I'm going to be the master taster. Like, that was never my career path. So where do we begin? Old Forester started growing pretty quickly, right? And they noticed that growth was coming from the 100 proof and the liter size, and that is indicative that it was coming from on-premise bartender usage. So one day around the table, Old Forester team was having a convo about we need a new face. Marianne had just left Brown-Forman, right? And Chris Moore's like, Woodford is growing like crazy. We bring in Elizabeth. She's doing a killer job, but Chris is only one dude, and we got a lot of brands. So they started, maybe it's time for Old Forester to have a person. It's got to be a person that can understand both the science side and also this cocktail drive that's happening with the brand. And so I'm sitting on a chemistry degree and a biology degree with the original intention of going to medical school, and maybe we'll explain what happened there in our longer podcast, since this is just a tease.
Yes, we will do that.
But I bartended my way all the way through. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky for reasons that, again, we'll talk about in our longer podcast, and got a job with a really great hospitality group here that had a really great bourbon bar, and I just fell in love with the category. One of my bosses was a master somm. He taught me so much.
That's great.
And honestly, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. Like, I've always had a really sensitive palate. I wouldn't say that I'm a picky eater, but I would say that I have a palate of a 5-year-old for sure. Like, it gets overwhelmed very easily.
Hot dogs and mac and cheese.
Hell yeah. Chicken nuggets for days. No, seriously, that sounds really good right now.
I'm
really,
actually
like,
really
now
hungry
like,
now.
There's mac and cheese like booth over there.
Is there seriously?
Yeah, but then they got all the weird stuff like truffle and goat stuff in it and whatever. I don't know. Like, I need basic.
Jackie, you're talking a language right
Okay,
now.
so anyways, back to the story. Master taster. So I get hired on with Old Forester to be a master bourbon specialist.
Yes.
It's a hybridization between a master mixologist, which I don't believe in the word mixologist because it's pretentious and it's awful. That and a master taster grooming role, right? And so I told Campbell within my first couple of weeks, the day that new distillery opens, I will be the master taster for this brand. And he's like, oh, okay, all right. So then I started my production training, my sensory training, my R&D training, all of that, and was just immersed in it.
Yeah.
You go through all the training because everyone thinks that it's this like, you sit around and wax poetic about like, oh, I'm getting almonds and, oranges and blah, blah. That's not it.
Marzipan.
It's, okay, did anyone else happen to notice that you scorched the corn on that? Did anyone else happen to notice that there was must on that? It's more defect driven. It's not tasting note driven. Because it's a quality control situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
I hate tasting notes. I hate tasting notes. Have you ever done a tasting with me for a single barrel? I don't say anything the whole time because I don't want to plant the seeds. If I tell you, like, oh, I'm getting roses, you're going to go, yeah, I get roses. I'm not going to ruin that experience for you. Like, I want you to sit there and smell it and go, no, this reminds me of, give it a second. Oh, my great aunt Opal used to make these cookies, and like, it takes you to that place.
Yeah.
And that's what's so awesome about whiskey is there's an emotional connection. There's that sensory connection.
Absolutely.
You need to have that. I don't want to rob you of that. I hate tasting notes. I do. I really do. I get it for the purposes of like.
I would love to introduce you to Fred Minnick, who is the tasting
I
note.
know. He and I butt heads on it. He sits there and he just like starts rambling, and I'm just looking at him like, shh.
Shut up, dude.
Stop talking. You're ruining it for everybody. It's necessary. General consumers like, I like this. Help me find that.
Right.
You read the little hang tag on the bottle, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Personally, I don't like tasting notes.
Which is really, really interesting from a master taster.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
is it?
It sounds like it is.
Probably the only master taster that'll actually admit that.
They don't like tasting notes.
That's fine.
Well,
No.
we'll get into it more.
Yeah, we will.
In the future podcast. But you all should definitely go check out Jackie's I Can at Old Forester because A, she's awesome. B, Old Forester has great whiskey.
I'm usually there on Tuesdays if you stop by the distillery.
Tuesdays.
That's my day.
Well, that's unfortunate that this is coming out on a Wednesday. So everybody has to wait 6 whole days.
That's okay. They will.
No. Thank you, Jackie,
It's
so
fine.
much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And with another Bourbon and Beyond in the books, I just want to say thank you again to everybody for allowing me to be a part of this and giving me the platform to have these conversations with these fantastic bourbon and culinary folks. Just a really, truly fantastic experience this year. And
can't wait for next year. I think it's just going to be even bigger and better like it was this year. So to wrap things up, I'm going to let you know where you can find us on all social media channels, and that is at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you could please give us a 5-star rate and review on iTunes, that would be superb. That is a great way for people to find us and to, really kind of promote the show a little bit. You guys are just as much of a part of the show as I am, or Curtis, or Swan are. And, the more that you put into it, the more that we can kind of get out of it. And we really do appreciate all the help that you guys have given us so far. If you have questions or comments, you can send them to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. Would love to read some stuff out from listeners of the show, answering questions or, addressing some comments if they have them. And I think we're going to try to start doing that soon if we get some of those in. If you're not yet a part of our Facebook group, you can head to facebook.com and search for This Is My Bourbon Group. Just a couple of questions for you to answer so that we can verify that you are who you say you are. And then you can become a part of a really fun little community that has been kind of growing very steadily. And we have a good time talking about bourbon, stuff that's in the news, and all sorts of things that are going on with the show. And then last but not least, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast is where you can become a supporter of the show for as little as $1 a month. That really, really does help us out, y'all. It just means the world to us that, you want to support us in any way, shape, or form. It's just for, you can start at $1 and it goes all the way up from there. You can check out some of the tiers that are up there. You get things like bonus episodes, you get live chats, you get to hang out with us in our little group that we have as well. There's just a lot of fun stuff that happens over on Patreon. So again, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. Would love to have you over there. No pressure as always, but we do appreciate it. That about does it for me on this week's episode and for another year of Bourbon and Beyond. Cannot wait for next year. Thank you all so much for listening. It's been a real pleasure getting to go on this journey with you. I'll see you next week, but until then, I'm Perry, and this is my Bourbon Podcast.